Have you ever had those days where you just can't get yourself to start? You know what you should do, but you keep waiting for the right moment, the right mood, some spark of motivation that never seems to come? Well, science says that feeling isn't a lack of willpower. It's your brain chemistry at work. Every single one of us has experienced this. The strange heaviness when you know you need to study, work out, or face something difficult, but you just can't make yourself begin. It's not just mental laziness. It's actually what happens when your brain's dopamine system hits a low point. See, dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's about drive. It's the chemical that pushes you to chase goals, to move forward. But here's the thing. Every time dopamine rises, it must also fall. After every peak, there's a trough, a dip. And that dip doesn't feel good. It feels like boredom, frustration, or emptiness. That unpleasant feeling is your brain's way of saying, I want to be in a different state than I'm in right now. In other words, the pain you feel when you're unmotivated, that restless discomfort, is actually the fuel that starts motivation again. But here's the problem. Most people don't realize that. When they hit that trough, they think something's wrong with them. So what do? They wait. They scroll on their phones. They clean their room. They check emails. Anything that feels easier than facing the real task. That's what procrastination is. It's not pure laziness. It's your brain searching for something that gives just enough dopamine to make you feel a little better. But that tiny hit of relief keeps you stuck longer in that low-energy state. Here's the truth. The fastest way to find motivation isn't to wait for it. It's to do something harder than waiting. That might sound backwards, but it's actually how your brain resets. When you're stuck in a dopamine trough, when you feel unmotivated or restless, you can shorten that low period by exposing yourself to controlled discomfort. Let me explain. If you do something harder or more uncomfortable than simply sitting there and procrastinating, your brain responds by releasing dopamine again. It's like you tell your brain, we're not staying in this low. We're climbing out. Now, this doesn't mean hurting yourself or doing anything unsafe. It means introducing a safe, temporary stressor, something that challenges your comfort zone just enough to wake your nervous system. For example, taking a cold shower, doing 20 push-ups, going for a short, fast walk, even setting a 1-minute timer and forcing yourself to work on the task for that 1 minute. Why does this work? Because discomfort triggers a new rise in dopamine. Your brain starts to shift from avoidance to action mode. It stops craving comfort and starts rewarding movement. That's why, after a cold shower, people suddenly feel alert and ready to act. The pain, the shock, is what pulls you out of the mental fog. So if you find yourself procrastinating, cleaning the house instead of studying, scrolling instead of writing, realize what's really happening. You're avoiding the discomfort that leads to progress. But if you can lean into that discomfort, even for a few seconds, you can reverse the chemistry of procrastination itself. You might start small, 1 rep, 1 sentence, 1 minute, but that small act tells your brain, we're back in control. And once the first step is done, dopamine rises naturally. That's why action always comes before motivation, not after. Stop chasing motivation, start generating it. We've been taught to believe motivation is a spark that appears out of nowhere. But neuroscience says the opposite. Motivation is the result of friction. When your brain experiences resistance, and you push through it, that's when dopamine kicks back in.so the next time you say, I just don't feel like it. Remember, that's not a signal to stop. It's a signal to begin. That low feeling is your system's way of telling you, you're ready to reset. Start by doing one small, uncomfortable thing. If you can't study, clean your desk first, but do it with intention as a warm-up. If you can't work out, just put on your shoes and stand outside. If you can't focus, take a cold shower or splash your face with ice water. Every little shock to your system speeds up the return of dopamine. And once that energy rises, the rest follows: focus, discipline, and even enjoyment. So the real secret to overcoming procrastination isn't willpower. It's understanding your biology. It's knowing that after every dopamine high, there's a low, and that low is not failure. It's the setup for the next rise. When you learn to use discomfort as a lever, you stop being controlled by your moods. You stop waiting for motivation to appear. You start creating it again and again, every time you act in spite of resistance. Because in the end, Discipline isn't about pushing harder. It's about understanding how your brain works and using it to your advantage. So don't wait for the perfect moment to feel ready. Make the moment ready for you. Motivation doesn't come before action. Action creates motivation.